Yo guys, I'm going to be teaching you how to do this sound today, the inward OD. So this sound has been widely requested ever since 2017 when I first learned the sound, thanks to Nemesis. Shout out to Nemesis. I haven't gotten around to actually making a tutorial because I could never actually think of a way to explain the sound effectively. I still really haven't, but I'm going to try my best today for you. So let's go. So I got my handy dandy notebook. Been trying to use methods like this. Just write down what I'm going to explain to you. To kind of basically PowerPoint my way through this tutorial. It's going to help me and you at the end of the day. So let's see what I wrote down here. My chicken scratch. We got mouth position, airflow, noise, similarities, and pressure. So we should go over that right about now. So let's get to it. Before I go over anything in this notebook though, I want to share my experience, my journey, if you will, on how I achieved, how Wunknown got the inward OD back in day 2017. Because I didn't have a notebook like this. You know, we had a notebook like, here you go, Wunknown. This is how you get inward OD. And yeah, so maybe the way I explain this might be a better explanation than the whole rest of this tutorial, because you could just follow those steps. But if not, I'll give you the actual way to learn the sound too, hypothetically. So back when I learned the sound in 2017, I think this is when I was Inertia's tag team partner, and I would always be studying what he did with all his new school techniques and stuff. Like I couldn't do the slizzer roll or the click roll or anything like that. But then I finally learned it, the slizzer roll, not the click roll, through some tutorial. And I tried to apply it to the inward bass that he was doing. He did a beat like, and I was able to like combine the slizzer roll with some top lip action to create like a. It's weird, but that's basically the start of the inward OD process for me. So basically, to learn my method, you gotta know the slizzer roll, like, and I do have a tutorial on my page for that, and that's why I released that before this, because I knew I was going to use this method to explain it. So I want to refer back to that. If you guys don't know how to do the slizzer roll, go check out that tutorial. But that's also why I have this book to help explain it in the off chance, the 90% chance that you don't know how to. So in case you don't know how to do that, I'm going to go into more depth with this book. But for now, let me continue my story. So for like a couple weeks, I was doing this weird, and I was like, it's so close. I could feel it on my top lip to like, I feel like it's so close to inward OD bass. I don't know why. And for like weeks, I was just trying to take the out of the equation so I could just have the, and eventually that's literally what happened. So I turned into, so it was literally just like an evolution from the slizzer roll with inward. It was just a weird way that I learned it, but that's how I learned it. So if happenstance be that you actually learn from this method instead of the rest of this tutorial, well, that's why I put this part in, just in case you learned it exactly like me, and you know, you're welcome. And now get on to the notebook, because my method means actually Alright, let's see what we got for the first note. Got mouth position. Interesting choice. Okay. So, if you do know how to slizzer roll or click roll, like, or, you know, this is going to make your life easier. Maybe it might not. I don't know. I think it would. But if you don't, you know, just be ready. It's going to be a process. So, what we're going to do in order to take your first step, learning the inward OD bass, is you're going to put your tongue all the way forward. Bring it forward, you know, and then put it on the top of your mouth. The roof of your mouth. Not the top. There's no top to your mouth. But the roof of your mouth. This should sound like this when you talk something like this. No. if you didn't know, if you pull in from this position, you're going to do a click roll. Okay? And if you didn't understand what I just said, you just gotta breathe when you're in that position. And that'll create a click roll. So this is super similar to the inward OD bass. The only difference is we're not using the roof of your mouth. We're not using the roof of your mouth. We're using the top lip instead. Now, watch very closely. I'm gonna come close to the camera so you can watch as closely as possible. So, I was breathing the same way the whole time, dude. Now, if you didn't notice what I did, basically all I did was I transferred the pressure from the roof of my mouth instead to my top lip. So I know they sound a lot different, but trust me, if there was a tongue on the roof of your mouth, it would sound like, I think. So yeah, for note number 1, mouth position. It's funny, I'm going over all of these at like the same time. But anyways, your tongue just needs to stay like up against the top of the roof of your mouth. I keep wanting to say the top of my mouth. But the roof of your mouth, it just stays kind of stationary like this, and then your top lip is going to hug it. So, and like I don't really move my tongue. I move my top lip to my tongue. So it's almost like my tongue is just like coming in to save the day and being like, oh, hello, I am top inward OD bass component. So yeah, the tongue just stays, like top lip comes down to save the day, and then you pull. And then you have the inward OD bass. So if you're like me, watching tutorials, you might be like, oh, Wunknown, what do you mean when you say pull? So I got you covered because, as you noticed, if you remember from the beginning of the video, your boy put down airflow. So I say these things and I just try to follow what I say. You know, like I'll make a tutorial and I'll be like, oh, does that even make sense? And I'll try to follow what I say and I'm like, does that really work? And sometimes it doesn't, so I have to recorrect what I say. So if I was to actually do what I just said and I told you to do the click roll, and then bring down the top lip, it doesn't always work like that. You might get some like, and then you make some poopy noise that I just created right there, and then you're like, oh, that's not inward OD bass. Well, that's why I have the notes. So the airflow and the mouth position actually correlate a lot. So in this instance, you might be like, oh, why did that happen with the, and you just got a weird sound instead of. So what you need to understand is I was pulling from the position of a click roll, which is actually almost behind the tongue instead of where my top lip and the bottom of my tongue meet, where it's supposed to happen. So let's say I was in that position, the correct position of, but I'm right here. And then I pull from like here, I'm going to get no reaction at all. So what you need to do is concentrate the airflow between this top lip and the bottom of your tongue. Now you might be like wondering or asking yourself like, where do I need to put the top lip on the bottom tongue? And it really almost doesn't matter, because if you notice, let's say I put it higher up on my tongue, like up here instead of down here, it's going to make it a tighter sound. It's just a tighter, that's how I go. I'm pulling it further and lower down on my tongue to get different notes and frequencies, basically. So it almost doesn't matter. But what does matter is that you get the airflow in that right spot, which in this instance is between the top lip and the bottom of your tongue. And since we're still on airflow, I want to go over what airflow is being pulled into your mouth while you're actually doing the sound. So for instance, how am I breathing in while I do that? And it's basically like an inward whisper. Now, the less whisper or air you use, it's going to be more pressure, and that's how I create the sound to become so like. instead of like vocalized almost. Now for the next slide I have noise similarities, but actually I don't think I should dedicate a whole little section even to this, just because as I've been going, like I said, I've just kind of been covering everything, and I already said what sounds it's similar to, like click roll, the slizzer roll. Those are like the two staple sounds that are like really similar to the inward OD. So I'm not going to explain. We have pressure for the next note, and I wanted to actually combine noise similarities in the pressure like I did with the mouth position and the airflow. I wanted to use the lip roll, not the, but the, as a staple for how I can compare the to the. It just sounds so funny throwing like a noise in your sentence, just like, so yeah, how you do the with the, and then you layer it over with the, and it's funny to me that it's even called inward OD because it almost has no similarities to the outward OD. Like, I think the reason it's called inward is because it just complements, and it's really easy to chain up the outward and the inward one, like, but it's not done at all like outward OD. Like, it blew my mind actually like years ago, before I knew how to do the sound, when someone was like inward OD, I was like, you can do inward? And then now that I know how to do it, I'm like, it's not like that at all. But I am going to compare the to the, because they're almost like the same exact sound, except you're just doing them with different parts of your mouth, so they sound different. But you can almost do the same things that you can do with a lip roll with the inward OD. For instance, you have which you use your lungs, and then you don't use any lungs with the, and then you could do the same thing with the inward OD. So you have your lungs, and then without lungs, I don't know if I've heard anyone do that sound, but it's basically like an inward OD hollow, or inward OD, I don't even know what you would call it, but I feel like they're really similar in pressure. So if you can do like a, you should just apply the same pressure to the. I know I'm kind of backtracking with what I'm saying here, but I just wanted to throw that in because pressure is the last thing on the list. Maybe I should have reorganized the list, but it's kind of too late now. But I hope this helped. I think that covers about everything on inward OD as far as the way I was going to explain it, or I'll ever explain it. Maybe I'll have some additional details in like a year or two on how to explain this noise. But yeah, we're almost at 14 minutes on this video, and I think it needed it, and that's why it's taken me so long to actually make this video. Not because I'm lazy or anything, but yeah, if you like this video, as always, subscribe, like, follow me on IG, Wunknown Official. Yeah.